we're gonna break down some credit mistakes that you wanna avoid at all costs possible so that you stay on the right path as you're going throughout the home buying journey and ultimately get to your end goal, which is purchasing a home. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Real Estate Playbook. My name's Andrew, and today I wanna take some time just to go through some mistakes that sometimes come up as home buyers are going throughout their process, right? Because at this point in the loan journey, you're under contract on a home and you're expected to close sometime between the next 30 and maybe 45 days. So you're very close to the finish line, right? And the last thing you want to do is, essentially shoot yourself in the foot with some of these credit mistakes that can, put a pause on the process or even stop the whole process as a whole. So these are some really important things that I want to point out to you, because if you know about them, then hopefully you'll just avoid them as a whole or lessen the damage if there's some things on here you have to do. But regardless, these are some very important things you want to take note of, because as we both know, your credit is a huge piece of your loan and ultimately you buying the home. So let's just jump right into it. The number one mistake you want to avoid would be any sort of late payment. And I know that seems super obvious, like, no crap, Andrew, we don't want to have a late payment. But here's the thing, when you're getting a home, there's a lot of things you're juggling. So it's just more of a friendly reminder to make sure you have auto pay set up if that's a payment that's ongoing, or make sure you have some sort of reminder system, or you want to have just some sort of system so that these things don't trip up on you when you're going through the process. Because again, you do have a lot of things you're juggling throughout this process. So I know it's obvious, but again, don't have a late payment because that's going to adjust your credit big time. All right, another mistake that happens more frequent than you would think is just taking on new credit. This oftentimes happens when people are out furniture shopping, or maybe they're getting the new lawnmower they're going to need for their yard, or any sort of these, any kind of these options where a store is offering, a 0% interest, don't pay for the first 12 months. Those type of scenarios are happening when you're out getting supplies for your home. That's what we want to avoid, because that will be a new credit inquiry on your credit. And depending on how that, debt is structured, that can affect your ratios and other factors too. So just avoid getting any new credit as a whole when you're already under contract and going throughout this journey, because again, that will affect your credit, and let's just avoid that if possible. Another similar mistake would just be maxing out your credit cards. And I know people, probably wouldn't do this intentionally while you're getting a loan, but a lot of times, just like opening new credit, it's instead of getting new credit, they're just putting that new debt on their credit card, right? They're buying the new furniture on their credit card, or they're having all the materials for their, do-it-yourself project that you're planning on doing when you're gonna, kind of spruce up the new home. You're putting it on your credit card. So any sort of these big purchases, just keep them off your credit cards in general, because what that's gonna do is that's gonna increase your balance, which is gonna increase your utilization, which is then gonna change your credit score. And ultimately, as you're getting really close to purchasing your home, most lenders are going to do what's called a soft pull. And they're basically going to make sure that your credit did not change from when you originally did an application. So a couple of things that we've mentioned so far already, when you do that soft pull, that's going to show up, right? Your increased utilization will show up, and that's going to change your credit. So do not be maxing out your credit cards as we're getting really close to the finish line. All right, so another common mistake people make is getting rid of old credit accounts. And I know that seems kind of counterintuitive, right? Because we may be wanting to get rid of it to cancel out some debt or whatever the case may be. But one of the factors that goes into your credit is time, or the length of time that you've had your credit. So if you're, basically closing out a credit card account or other credit you have, again, that's going to show up on your soft credit pull that you have right before you close on the home. And depending, what your ratios are and other factors of how your loan is structured, that could change things for you. So do not be closing out any accounts unless you've already planned that out with your lender, and that's already part of the game plan. All right, guys. So one more mistake you want to avoid is co-signing any new loans. So this would be a co-signer on an auto loan, on student loans, on whatever the case may be. Oftentimes this happens when parents are helping out their child with a big purchase or financing something. That's usually what happens. But again, you want to wait until your loan is closed, because this will change your ratios for your loan. Ultimately, the amount of debt that you have compared to what's allowed. And depending on how your loan is structured and where you are, just on that range for your ratios, this could change things pretty big, and this could be a deal killer. So you definitely want to wait to co-sign on any more loans until this loan is closed, and then you can move on to that step if that's something you're going to be doing. All right, there you have it, guys. There's some tips just on some mistakes that you want to avoid, if at all possible, when you're going throughout the process. Because, like I said, you're already so close to the finish line. Let's not shoot ourselves in the foot when the finish line is right there. So just recapping real quick, make sure we've got our payments in check. We're not going to have any late payments. Make sure we're not opening up any new credit. Make sure we're not maxing out any credit cards on home purchase good items or whatever the case may be. Make sure that we are not co-signing on any new loans, and then make sure we're not closing out any old accounts here, unless that's part of your plan here with your loan. So hopefully that's helpful, guys. Really what we're trying to do here at the Real Estate Playbook is just provide you with information to help you as you're going throughout this process. I know buying a home is a huge decision. It's a lot of factors that you're considering. There's a lot of things going into it. So I'm just trying to help simplify it. I'm trying to help just guide you throughout this process, because I know for most of you out there, you probably didn't learn this stuff in school. So I want to just do my duty here and share what I know onto you to hopefully help somebody out there as they're going throughout this process. So if you did find this value, I'd really appreciate if you shared it with someone you know, or liked and subscribed. But besides that, stay tuned. I'll have more information and more tips coming out for you guys in the future.